Well, during the regular season, Indiana shot just under 49% from the field, second best in the league. So it is alarming when your top six shoots 25% from the field, as they did in game two, and a lot of that due to impatience. But the Pacers should not hang their head. They did what they had to do, go into Atlanta and capture the home court advantage. Now all they have to do is recapture their ability to put the ball in the hole.
And the Hawks certainly turned things around in game two. Mookie Blaylock, their outstanding point guard who had some problems, able to lift his game, and that solved the problems of Atlanta at the Omni on Thursday.
Well, Mookie Blaylock put up a triple-double on Thursday night, but one of the reasons why it's been a roller coaster ride for Atlanta during these playoffs, Mookie is shooting just 30% from the field. But when he is buzzing defensively, as he did in game two, by pressuring the ball, rebounding, stealing the ball, these Hawks are an explosive team.
All right, for more on the Hawks and the Pacers, let's go to Ahmad Rashad.
All right, Marv, the Pacers are relatively healthy, but for the Atlanta Hawks, Mookie Blaylock on Thursday night, just before the end of the game, felt a little twinge in his right hamstring. Lenny Wilkins got him out of the game. They have been treating that hamstring the last couple of days, first with ice, then with heat. I spoke with Mookie just before the game. He has stretched the hamstring out. He thinks that he'll be able to play. Now, here at Market Square Arena, the theme is playoff crazy. And to enhance that craziness, the first 15,000 people that came to this game were given these megaphones just to make it just a little more noisy. So I guess, Marv, I'll be communicating with you today via megaphone. Back to you, Marv.
Well, Ahmad obviously caught up in Pacer fever. They are packed in here at Market Square. Back with game three of the best of seven in a moment.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold. By Pringles, so fresh, once you pop, you can't stop. And by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me.
Welcome back to Market Square Arena, Indianapolis, Indiana. The starting lineups first for the Atlanta Hawks. Mookie Blaylock coming off the triple-double in game two, and Stacey Augmon in the backcourt. Up front, John Koncak at center. Annie Manning and Kevin Willis, who both enjoyed bounce-back performances on Thursday, comprise that Atlanta Hawk front line. The coach of the Hawks in his 21st season as an NBA head coach, Lenny Wilkins. NBA second all-time winningest coach with 926 victories. A look at the Pacers. Hayward Workman at the point guard position. Reggie Miller trying to turn things around. Held to 2 field goals, only 12 points in game two. 2 for 13 from the field for Miller. Rik Smits has had a quiet series, as has Derek McGee. They are on the front line along with Dale Davis. And the coach of the Pacers, like Lenny Wilkins, certainly a viable candidate for NBA Coach of the Year honors. Larry Brown has never won it in the NBA. He was Coach of the Year in the ABA on 3 occasions. And not a unique response on the part of the Pacers to the player introductions. They go through a little dance step. Here it is.
Well, I don't... Reggie and Hayward looks like they need a little more rehearsal with that routine. Now they got it going. I wonder how much time that takes.
I'm sure this is greatly appreciated by the opposition ball club. I know they've been doing it right throughout the season here at Market Square. The officials, Hugh Evans, Dan Crawford, and Joe Forte. The story in game two, the Indiana Pacers' lack of patience offensively, which upset Larry Brown, and the Hawks' energized defensive play, which certainly pleased Lenny Wilkins.
Well, I got a chance to watch the Pacer practice yesterday, and it was the first opportunity in about 5 or 6 weeks for Larry Brown to get on his team because they finished the season winning 8 in a row in their first 4 playoff games. And did he ever let them have it? He wanted to make sure this team got back the intensity today, in particular at the defensive end. And when you only shoot 30% as they did in game 2, you would think most of the problems are at the offensive end, and they were.
Are you indicating that it was annoying to Larry because he had nothing to complain about?
Well, how do you get on your team about not making shots? He did challenge Rik Smits and Derek McKee about being more aggressive offensively, get better position, and take the ball to the basket.
It will be Rik Smits going on the... check that Dale Davis on the opening tip against Kevin Willis. And Reggie Miller controls for Indiana. Haywood Workman, a one-time Atlanta Hawk. For Rik Smits, who tries to go right at John Koncak. Rik Smits, coming off his best season in the NBA, had a good 3-game set against Orlando. That's a jump ball. Derek McKee on the tie-up. He thought he had taken it away from Stacey Augmon, but Hugh Evans says jump ball.
And he did. He actually made a very good steal here, and Augmon reaches in and grabs the arm and wrist of McKee, but McKee's such a low-key, classic type of individual, doesn't even argue with the official, but he looks like he has come out and ready to make a contribution, at least at the defensive end.
Workman with the save. Miller played by Augmon. Smits gets inside. Rebounded by Willis.
Well, 2 occasions now, Smits has got excellent position inside, and he wants to take the ball to basket. In game 2, he just shot the ball so quickly as soon as he touched it.
He was 4 of 15 in that second game. Workman leading the break. McKee fouled from behind. Well, the Pacers trying to get this crowd going, and they're off to a high-energy start.
Anytime a 7-footer, and in this case 7'4" player, can catch the ball that close to the lane, there's very little chance of double-teaming coming down in time. Good aggressive move by Smits against the physical defense of Koncak as we watch Derek McKee go to the free throw. He has to bring more to the Pacers' effort offensively. He tried to score more in game 2. He had 11 points in that ball game, but got into early foul trouble, which kept him on the bench for much of the ball game. But he has to call for the ball, demand it more, and when he gets it, make a definitive move.
When Derek McKee first reported to the Pacers following the trade for Detlef Schrempf, the feeling was he was not shooting enough. He was also bothered by that pulled hamstring injury. And as you say, they would like to see him step it up in the series against Atlanta. Danny Manning. And rebounded by Dale Davis. Good play by Augmon, using his long arms to break up that lead pass.
When you think of the Pacers, you think of a half-court team that likes to run a lot of screens for Reggie Miller, but they also have to take advantage of their good defense and rebounding by getting out and running and getting some fast break baskets.
They double up on Smits. Help from Blaylock. Smits. And a loose ball foul is called against Indiana.
As soon as Rik Smits puts the ball on the floor, there is Mookie Blaylock dropping off his man, Haywood Workman. They'll let Workman make some outside jumpers, and he's trying to strip the ball inside, and it's making it very difficult for Smits to get into a smooth type of shot.
Dale Davis called for the foul. Minute 40 gone by in this first quarter. The Hawks 0 for 3 from the field here at the start. Workman with the steal. Had 7 steals in game 1 of the Orlando series. Igniting the crowd once again, and the Hawks want to talk it over.
Larry Brown said to Haywood Workman yesterday, you didn't play defense the other night. You didn't challenge Mookie Blaylock. You didn't get into the passing lane. Well, he certainly has come out strong and picks one off to to get an easy lay the other way, and what a story it's been for Haywood Workman this year. Picked up as a free agent by Donnie Walls, along with another free agent in Antonio Davis, and then later into the season, Byron Scott. And these three players have really made a terrific impact on the success of the Pacers this year.
Matt Haywood Workman barely made the Pacers squad after a poor preseason, then came on in the regular season. He was originally a second-round pick of Atlanta back in '89, played only 6 games with the Hawks, and he has been candid about saying that he wants to get even with the Atlanta Hawks for cutting him. Played the last couple of years in the Italian League. But I don't think Workman at that time was the player that we've seen this season.
Well, playing time and confidence from your coach will go a long way.
Danny Manning converting the first field goal for the Hawks. And it's the Pacers 6 and the Hawks 2. McKee coming off the screen. Smits squaring up against Koncak. Rik Smits with his second field goal. No question about what the Pacers are looking to do here at the start. They want to get Smits off early.
They're hoping for him to make a couple of shots, draw some double team and help, and that will get shots for Reggie Miller on the perimeter.
Holding foul called on Miller. 3 minutes gone by. It's Indiana 8 and Atlanta 2. Blaylock looking for the three-point possibility. They collapse on Willis. And it's kicked out of bounds by Indiana.
Well, that was a big problem for Atlanta in the Miami series, in particular the first 3 games, continually going inside to Willis where he was getting double-teamed. That time he was tripled. He does not pass the ball well out of that situation.
And I know that many of his teammates upset about that. Here's Koncak from deep. There was a team meeting held by the Atlanta Hawks in which Kevin Willis was the focal point of the discussion. McKee with the good hustle. And a foul is called on the Hawks. Several teammates complaining right to Willis that they want the ball back when it goes down low. Koncak called for that foul as first.
And he accepted that criticism and did move out to the perimeter where he was a much more effective player, in particular against the Heat.
Pacers 8 and the Hawks 2. Blaylock tried to penetrate, lost it. Back comes McKee. Blaylock knocked it away. Miller on the recovery for 3. Well, the Hawks do not want to see Reggie Miller get off. Miller from downtown giving Indiana an 11-2 lead. The pass misfire. Here comes Miller. Indiana resets. Workman, played by Blaylock. Smits gets position. Smits, yes. Indiana off to a blazing start. They are up 13-2.
Well, this is what Larry Brown wanted and expected a lot of help from this crowd. They have given it, but his players have responded in time.
Augman on the follow, yes, and it counts. Stacey Augman doing it off the offensive boards. He was fouled by Rik Smits.
Well, Koncak, who has gotten more and more chances to shoot the ball, most teams drop off him. Stacey Augman with those long arms, and nobody got a body on him. Reggie Miller's assignment there is to keep Stacey Augman off the boards. He did not do it.
Pacers 13, the Hawks 4. And a timeout taken by Indiana. 7 minutes, 11 seconds remaining. First quarter. We'll be right back. Indiana hoping that Reggie Miller catches fire today after the sensational series against Orlando. He averaged 29 points a game, shot just under 55%. He has had his problems against the Hawks, only 7 of 27 combined his first 2 games. This is a good sign. A moment ago, hit a three-pointer. We talked with Reggie yesterday about his shooting problems.
A lot of shooters think you shoot with your arms, and I always felt that you shot with your legs. So I'm incorporating my legs a little bit more, getting my steps down. And it's always a process with me, going all the way back to when I shot with my father. It's a lot of steps, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. So I'm talking to myself while I'm out there trying to get my steps back together and try to get back into the groove.
How's that for timing as Reggie Miller is talking? He hits his second from downtown. Got the incognito look by Reggie, ready for the sequel, I think, to Lawrence of Arabia. As Kevin Willis hits from the outside with 6:40 remaining first quarter. Indiana now leads Atlanta 16-6.
I asked Reggie if he was in hiding because he shot 2 for 13. He's not one to make excuses, but he did say he never really recovered from the 8-day layoff between the Orlando series and the start of the Atlanta one.
I know Larry Brown was very concerned about that long layoff going into game 1, but then Indiana was able to win by the count of 96-85. Will not count. It is a 24-second violation.
And really because Rik Smits decided to take a little bit of a look away. He didn't really have a good feel for the clock, and had he released that ball, he would have gotten it off in time. But just that little bit of hesitation as he looks to his right caused the turnover.
Dale Davis controlling the ball. Miller for 3. Well, Reggie is now 2 of 3 from downtown. Blaylock on the run. Willis. So Kevin Willis getting the roll. Indiana leads by 8.
But rookie Blaylock, who had that triple-double the other night with 10 rebounds, just out-quicked a very strong defensive rebounder, Dale Davis, to start that fast break.
And a traveling violation called on Reggie Miller, who is now hit with a delay of game. Reggie in frustration, firing the ball away. So that is a delay of game warning. One more, and it means a technical foul against Indiana. And now an illegal defense called on the Pacers for the first time.
Reggie Miller saying, I'm all right, but just where he is standing there, he is below the free throw line, and his man, Stacey Augmon, was above the top of the key, and you're only allowed below 2.9 seconds. Reggie was illegal.
That's a three-point attempt by Blaylock. Smits trying to save it, but he stepped out. This is a milestone day for the city of Indianapolis. President Clinton visiting to participate in the dedication ceremony for the Martin Luther King Robert Kennedy Memorial Statue. Followed by Augmon. This is also the day of the Indianapolis 500 qualifying time trials, and a day for game 3 between the Pacers and the Hawks. So things stirring here in Indianapolis, and a capacity crowd on hand. And we have heard them right from the introduction of the starting lineups. Foul is called on Koncak, his second.
Smits battling hard for position. Koncak trying to push him out, but Rick continues to get it, so they'll keep giving him the basketball. The idea is get it in there, get some scores, draw some double teams, but you also don't know how long Rik Smits is ever going to play for you, because he generally gets into foul trouble. He fouled out of 11 games this year.
Andrew Lang has checked in, replacing John Koncak, so the matchup is Lang against Smits. Lang is a shot blocker. Smits able to hit over Lang. Smits is now 4 of 6 for 8 points. Pacers 18 and the Hawks 10. 4.5 remaining. First quarter. Kevin Willis with a wild shot.
Well, the Hawks the other night finally went to some two-man basketball just like that. That was a forced shot. A touchdown could have been called a charge. But when they do play that pick and roll, they are effective.
Willis with the steal. Has a 3-on-2 and goes all the way. He had the the entire middle to shoot for.
They had a lot of practice during this Thursday night on all of their fast breaks. The seas parted, the players got out of the way, and yes, Mark, I am losing my mind.
And it's early, Matt. You are in major trouble. Yes. Miller once again. 8 points for Reggie Miller. Indiana 20. Atlanta 14. Lang trying to save it. The ball goes back to Indiana. Antonio Davis leaded by the crowd as he checks in. A hand for Rik Smits. Smits off to the fast start, sitting down with 8 points. Antonio Davis had the outstanding effort in game number 1. 12 of his 15 points coming in the third quarter. So it's McKee up front with Antonio Davis and Dale Davis. Bad pass. Blaylock with the steal and held by Workman.
It's going to the bench. They had to still want to go inside. Not ready to give the ball to Tony Davis. Wanted to see if Derek McKee could give him something. And those are the kinds of plays he's been making. That tentative type of move. Instead of taking it, facing his man, and taking it hard to the basket.
Byron Scott has checked in for the first time. And Scott will go up against Augman. Blaylock played by Workman. Lang not an offensive threat. Now backing his way. Draws a double team and is able to hit. As I said, not an offensive threat, but hits with a very nice turnaround bank shot.
Well, he was 0 for 5 the other night. That gave him a big lift at the defensive end with 4 block shots.
You know, we can very easily, as you see the alley-oop, and Dale Davis not able to put it down. You know, we can slide a mud over here, Matt, if you're having... Then again, 2:50 remaining. First quarter. Back in a moment. Over the first 2 games of this series, this matchup has been all Danny Manning, averaging 20.5 per game, shooting 50%. And Derek McKee offensively has been silent.
But Derek can help his ball club by playing defense, and he's aware of it. He's been told, and he's hanging on to Danny Manning for dear life, trying to keep the ball out of his hands as much as possible. There's no question Manning has had the best of this matchup.
2:45 remaining in this first quarter. Manning only 1 for 3 at this point. Fleming has checked in for the first time. Good play by McKee. He stripped Manning. 3-on-1. Scott lost it. And Craig Elo, who just came on, has it knocked away. Back come the Pacers. Scott with Elo back. Scott on the drive. Fleming with the rebound. And it's Indiana with a 22-16 lead.
Well, Byron Scott a little bit shaky. Should have given that last trip. Giving the ball up to Fleming. This time he decided to go to the basket and just squeezed it out of his hand.
Pacers have led by as many as 12. They jumped in front 16-4. Wayne Farrell is getting set to check in. Dale Davis knocks it away. Indiana coming out very aggressive here at the start.
And they are a good defensive team, but they have also taken a page out of the Atlanta Hawk defensive playbook, being very active with their hands, stripping balls, knocking balls loose, and it has turned into some good fast break chances.
The veteran Enos Watley, 7-year man out of Alabama, a man who has certainly made the rounds throughout the NBA and CBA, Europe. He's come on. Lang with a driving hook. Andrew Lang cuts it to a 4-point Indiana lead.
When Lenny Wilkins goes to Farrell as the small forward, Larry Brown takes that opportunity to use Reggie Miller as his small forward rather than a Sam Mitchell.
So Fleming and Scott are in the backcourt. Miller is up front with Antonio Davis and Dale Davis. The shot clock is at 5. Byron Scott putting the move on Dwayne Farrell and hits on a gorgeous reverse. High off the glass.
Well, shaky on the first 2 plays, made no mistake there as he took it under control, used his left hand and the glass beautifully.
Indiana leads by 6. 1:10 remaining in the this first quarter. Farrell with the fake. And the tip by Willis. Pacers 24 and the Hawks 20. Vern Fleming, who has had an injury-hit season for Reggie Miller. Fleming with the shot. Barely ticked the rim. And his last touch by the Pacers.
Byron Scott desperately wants to make a contribution to his ball play. Disappointed with his 1 for 8 the other night. Most teams are going to get up on Byron because he is such a good perimeter shooter. He takes that opportunity to put it on the floor and drive.
Byron Scott spent 10 years with the Los Angeles Lakers. He has 3 championship rings as a member of the LA Lakers. Farrell being played by Scott. 35 seconds left, first quarter. Wadley. Down to 5 on the 24. Here's Willis. Air ball. Fielded by Miller. And a save is picked off. Willis with the drive. Nice play by Kevin Willis. And he brings the Hawks within 2. Indiana will hold for a final shot of the quarter. We come up on 10 seconds remaining. Smits battles with Lang for position. Fleming gives it up. The basket counts and the foul. Antonio Davis with 0.3 of a second to go in this first quarter, able to slam it, and he was fouled by Farrell.
Well, a big mistake here by the Atlanta Hawks. Nobody on the floor aware that they had a foul to give. 1 to waste, and they're normally at the end of the quarter you like to do it maybe 3 or 4 seconds to go. That would have been a good opportunity right there to hammer Vern Fleming and make the Pacers take the ball side out of bounds.
Antonio Davis, a rookie from Texas, El Paso, originally drafted on the 2nd round back in 1990. Played in Italy and Greece the past 3 years. He has been a find for Indiana. After 1 here in Market Square, Pacers with a 26-22 lead on the Hawks. And Reggie Miller relocating the touch. 3 out of 5 from the field. 8 points in all for Miller. We'll be back with the second quarter after these words.
Another shot back at Market Square Arena, and what a big weekend here in Indianapolis. The president was in town for a groundbreaking ceremony, also pole day for the Indianapolis 500, and also the Pacers here at Market Square Arena taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Such a huge day. There you see Bill Clinton working, and now we'll go back to Marv, who is also working.
Working a little harder, Matt. Hanging in with the little laryngitis here in the early going, but it seems to be working it out, though.
The crowd got me.
Yes, they did early.
They jumped all over
I
me.
know that feeling. Second quarter is underway. Craig Elo, too strong. Rebounded by Rik Smits. And Vern Fleming pushes it down. 4-point lead for the Indiana Pacers. Game 3 of the best of 7. The series tied at 1. Here's Smits. Antonio Davis keeping it alive. Reggie Miller for 3. And a loose ball foul is called. Antonio Davis sent flying. Kevin Willis called for the foul. For Willis, his first. Keeping with the theme of the day, you look at the Indiana Pacers in recent years, they are exactly at the 500 mark over the last 4 years. It's been similar patterns, too. They usually have gotten off to slow starts, then have come on, and then have been eliminated come playoff time. Antonio Davis, once again, keeps the ball on the offensive end. And it leads to the 2 points.
Relentless board work by Tony Davis. Not that particular time, but the one before. Willis actually put a body on him and tried to keep him off. Could not do it.
And Farrell met by Scott. Foul committed by Scott. Kevin Willis leading the Atlanta Hawks with 12 points on 6 of 8 shooting. High point man for Indiana. Rik Smits with 8. Reggie Miller with 8. Antonio Davis with 6. The Atlanta Hawks finished the regular season 57-25. Top spot of the Eastern Conference. Top seed in the playoffs. And with 57 wins, they matched their franchise best for most wins in a season. The Hawks won 57 under Mike Fratello back in the 86-87 season. Atlanta had a tough time, though, in that first round with Miami, finally beating the Heat in 5, while Indiana comes off a sweep of the Orlando Magic after a good finish to the regular season. With the shot clock running down, Fleming coughed it up, and Elo hits the breakaway. So the Pacers lead 28-24. Here's good pressure by Watley, who knocks it out of bounds. And Atlanta very much alive. Their defensive play getting them back into it.
Well, this has been their game all year long. Put as much pressure as they can at the defensive end, full court pressure. And usually the guy spearheading that is Mookie Blaylock. It's Watley right now. But the rest of these guys kind of feed off Blaylock and Altman when they put that pressure on. And that's how they get easy baskets the other way.
Indiana 52%. Here's Byron Scott adding to that percentage. Atlanta right under 50%, so it's been a good shooting first half. Pacers lead by 6, and a pushing foul is called on Fleming. Timeout taken with 9 minutes and 50 seconds to go in the second quarter. The Pacers 30 and the Hawks 24.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by MCI, the company that brings you proof positive. By Castrol Syntec, the synthetic oil that protects in ways other oils can't. And by Jeep and Eagle, official vehicles of the NBA.
Welcome back to a very lively Market Square Arena in Indianapolis. Craig Elo with a very tough assignment going up against Reggie Miller. He has been all over Reggie Miller. We talked with Craig Elo about the difficulties of defending against Reggie Miller.
Reggie's tough because he's like a pinball machine. I mean, he's like the ball just bouncing around. He never stops. He's in constant motion. And they set very good picks, so you're always chasing him and things like that. So I just try to stay as close as I can to him and even put a hand on him and maybe beat him up a little bit because that wears on you. I mean, I don't like anybody, holding me or grabbing me when I'm trying to get open. So I think the harder we make him work, something will be off of his shot a little bit.
Well, both Craig Elo and Stacey Altman have done a good job on Reggie throughout this series, mainly because they do put their hands on him, keep their body on that baseline so they can follow him hard, trail him coming off those screens. Penetration inside by the Hawks as they're starting to get inside the Indiana defense a little bit more now, and when that happens, good things happen for your offense as they get the drop-off to Andrew Lang.
Eric McKee called for that foul on Lang, who is a 68% free throw shooter. Eric McKee has not scored, once again matched with Danny Manning, but he has come up with a couple of steals, 2 block shots, and Manning has been quiet. Only a field goal for 3. Here's pressure on Fleming, and then Watley drops back. Indiana leads by 4. Now McKee being guarded by Farrell. Shot clock at 5. Antonio Davis rejected by Andrew Lang. Scott with the shot clock running down. Just did get it off. Here's Elo with a 2-on-1. Farrell blocked and fouled. It's called on Antonio Davis.
Good tough defense again by the Atlanta Hawks, forcing a tough shot in there as Kevin Willis sent that Tony Davis offering way out of there to start a fast break. Another one for the Atlanta Hawks. Good block from behind by Tony Davis, but he did catch Wayne Farrell on the back of the head. Tony Davis that is, has been extremely active around both baskets.
Wayne Farrell, in his 6th year out of Georgia Tech, was not drafted. He is a free agent fine. Had a bunch of 10-day contracts, plus several stops in the CBA before hooking on with the Hawks for good. Guy who provides instant offense. 3-point lead for the Pacers. 3 minutes gone by in the second. Smits with the step. 10 points for Rik Smits, and he will go to the line.
Nice execution on the set play by Indiana. One of their little pet options on that side of the floor. Enos Watley at about 5'11", tried to hold up Smits for Andrew Lang, but just no way able to do it, as Byron Scott extremely happy with the way that play unfolded. When Reggie Miller goes to the bench, the Pacers really have trouble scoring points. And one of the reasons why Smits is in that ballgame right now, they do have a go-to guy with Miller on the bench.
Watley able to penetrate all the way down, but then was rejected by McKee. Scott on the break for Smits. And a traveling violation is called. You usually do not want to get the ball to the big man on the break, and it cost the Pacers.
Well, there again, Derek McKee making a good defensive play to start the fast break, but you're right, Mark. Giving the ball to Smits too far away from the basket really caused that turnover.
And at the other end, Andrew Lang able to hit on the drive, so the Pacers lead by 4. Smits getting good position. Lang with the rebound, then had it knocked away. Lang tried to save it. Lang's in the crowd, and will be Indiana in possession. Full 24 for the Pacers. McKee, Smits, and Antonio Davis up front. Fleming and Scott in the backcourt. McKee played by Farrell. And a foul is called, a pushing foul on the Hawks. It's on Lang. That is his second.
Well, Derek McKee catching the ball up top, and he's being pressured quite a bit here, which is enabling him. It doesn't really matter. He's got the good size to make that entry pass right down the gut of the defense to Rik Smits. But when McKee comes off that screen, he's just no threat to shoot the ball. He is not even looking at the basket.
John Koncak has come on for Andrew Lang. Andrew Lang with 8 points in this first half. He averages 6 points a game. McKee, and knocked out of bounds by the Hawks. Indiana Pacers with a record of 47-35 during the regular season, their best ever NBA mark. They finished this season with a franchise record, 8 straight wins, and then able to blow past Orlando in the first round in a 3-game sweep. Elo called for the foul. Mookie Blaylock makes his return. Indiana closed the season by going 31-12, the NBA's second-best team since late January. Only Seattle had a better record. You can see Indiana improving by 6 games over a year ago. Atlanta a +14. Golden State tops of that department, a +16. Timeout taken. It's the Pacers leading by 4. It's been a slow start for Mookie Blaylock, as we touched on at the start of the telecast. Mookie, the catalyst the other night in Game 2 with the triple-double, but today no points, 0 for 1 from the field. He's turned it over 3 times.
And he's only played 10 of the 17 minutes. At the end of that ball game the other night, he injured his hamstring. I'm just wondering if that might not be the problem. He's only taken 1 shot in this ball game. That is definitely not like Mookie Blaylock.
It was said to be just a minor hamstring injury, but you're right. Perhaps it is having an effect on his game. Smits foul. Double team of Koncak and Elo. defending against Smits. And Elo is called for his second. So Smits to the line. He's been an offensive machine in his first half. 5 of 10 from the field. 11 points for Rik Smits.
Normally, John Koncak very strong as far as pushing a post player off the block. He has had all kinds of difficulty trying to do that to Rik Smits. Actually, Andrew Lang has done a much better job, as we see Rik Smits' improvement in the Magic series very, very well, and has really had 2 poor games for Indiana in this series so far. And Larry Brown let him know about it yesterday.
A very long practice conducted by Larry Brown yesterday. And his Pacers now lead by 5. They led by as many as 14 in the early going. 5 minutes gone by. Second quarter. Elo rejected by Scott. Byron Scott with the block. Scott all the way and draws the foul.
Byron Scott, not known for his defense, gets way up in the air to stone Craig Elo and start a fast break himself, and the Atlanta Hawks commit the mortal sin of not stopping the basketball at the top of the key, and they pay the price for it as Scott drives into the crowd of Blaylock and Koncak. We were told by Ahmad Rashad that during that last timeout, Mookie did not get any treatment on his hamstring problem. He doesn't have any wrapping on it, but Marv, he is not moving like the Mookie Blaylock that we're used to seeing.
And in this series, Mookie only 7 for 26 from the field, 27% shooting. Indiana has led all the way. It's a 35-29 advantage. Byron Scott, the hero of game 1 against Orlando with that last second long-range pop. 6 points today for Byron Scott. Indiana 36, Atlanta 29. Blaylock, played by Workman. Willis. And the rebound handled by the Pacers. Now Davis pulled it down. Smits went to the second option. Manning tried to save it, could not. It will be Indiana ball.
These are the kind of shots Smits was taking the other night, forcing them. Actually, the Pacers got a break there because Dale Davis, kept it alive just momentarily enough to prevent the run out by Atlanta.
Byron Scott hears it from the crowd. Sits down with 6 points and 4 rebounds. Reggie Miller checking back in. Dale Davis draws a double team. Shot clock at 6. Workman on the drive. Oh, what a move by Haywood Workman. Hits on the driving hook to give Indiana a 38-29 lead. And Lenny Wilkins calls for time. .6:05 remaining in the second quarter. And they are on their feet here at Market Square.
Bob Costas back in New York. Now coming up on the Prudential Halftime Report, we'll preview the second game of our doubleheader between Utah and Denver, a series Utah leads 2-0. We'll hear from Denver head coach Dan Issel and Utah forward Karl Malone. And we'll talk about the Bulls' Scottie Pippen in the aftermath of his refusal to take the court for the final play last night against the Knicks. Right now, back to the busiest man in the NBA playoffs, Marv Albert. Marv.
All right, back at Market Square, 6:05 remaining in the second quarter. And the Pacers with a 38-29 lead on the Hawks. Nice move here by Haywood Workman, who's played so well for the Indiana Pacers. We talked about Workman with his coach, Larry Brown.
You know, if I sit here, you could find a lot of faults in him. He's not a true point guard, but the thing that I admire, and I think our team appreciates, is he tries every night. He gets loose balls, he gets long rebounds. He competes at a high level, and and I think we're all wishing him success. And it's brought our team close together because everybody knows that position is critical. Everybody knows he was thrown into a very difficult situation. And I think we all want to see him do well.
And Hayward Workman emerged, and certainly an unlikely candidate, emerged as the starting point guard. John Koncak hitting that jump shot as we were listening to Larry Brown. So the Pacers now lead 38-31. Danny Manning is called for his first foul.
Well, Larry Brown, who was an excellent point guard in his days back at North Carolina and in the ABA, is Stacey Altman trying to hang on to Reggie Miller did, but then Danny Manning threw the shoulder and forearm shiver. But Larry Brown is very tough on point guards, very demanding. But since Hayward Workman is not what you call a true point, I think he appreciates what he brings in mental toughness and effort as the rest of the team does. And ever since he has stepped into the starting lineup, this team has turned things around.
And the Pacer coaches feel that Workman has improved his ball protection. That was a question mark earlier. Pooh Richardson was to be the starting point guard. He's been hit by injuries, but a difficult season for Pooh. Larry Brown not happy about his play, and then ended up going with the tougher defensive player, Hayward Workman, and Pooh Richardson is not on this playoff roster.
And the injury to Vern Fleming, in which he was hammered to the floor by Shaquille O'Neal, enabled Workman to get that much more playing time.
Koncak. Rebounded by Willis. Rejected. Combination of Smits and Dale Davis got a piece of it. Workman on a pull-up. Knocked out of bounds by the Hawks.
Well, if looks could kill, Larry Brown's look at Hayward Workman on that release, as that nice defensive play once again by the Indiana Pacers. But that an ill-advised shot there by Hayward Workman, and Larry Brown not happy about it, and the look told it all.
Smits on a recovery as Manning knocked it away. Rik Smits has 14 points. Indiana by 11.
Rik Smits is just a different player when he sees John Koncak in front of him. When Andrew Lang is in there, he has much more difficulty scoring the ball.
Koncak. Well, John Koncak a moment ago hit the outside shot, but he's missed his last two.
And Lenny Wilkins looking over to John saying, all right, I'm a believer. You're not making it today. Cool it off a little bit, but it took Lenny so much time to get John confident enough to shoot more of those open jumpers.
Standing ovation provided for the Pacers. Smits unable to recover. Shot clock at 7. Workman using the screen. Shot clock at 3. Good play by Blaylock. 2 remaining on the 24. Substitutions for the Hawks. Craig Elo. Andrew Lang replace John Koncak and Stacey Augmon.
Excellent defensive sequence by Blaylock, who heard it from Lenny Wilkins during the timeout. We have to keep Workman from penetrating into the lane, and Mookie has had some trouble moving his feet. He got down very low that time and prevented that and got the block as well.
Here's Miller. Beat the shot clock, but the shot off the mark. Blaylock on the run. Delivers to Manning. Beautiful pass from Mookie Blaylock.
Excellent heads-up job by Mookie Blaylock, as he did keep his head up all the way and saw the whole floor, and just an easy bounce pass. Perfect execution.
Indiana 42, Atlanta 33. Elo just went down in a collision with Dale Davis. Workman is open. Workman has had a number of open shots. Blaylock pounding the ball. Workman got picked off. He was tripped up by Willis.
And Kevin Willis set a haymaker screen on Hayward Workman to try to free up Mookie Blaylock. He felt he was holding his position still. Referee Danny Crawford saw it differently, and Kevin Willis really giving what for to referee Danny Crawford.
Second foul committed by Willis. Antonio Davis back on the floor. Workman and Miller in the backcourt. Here's Miller. Rookie Miller, 4 of 8 from the field. He has 12, turning it from game 2 at the Omni. Indiana leads by 11. And Manning draws the foul. Foul committed by Derek McKee, and a technical foul called on Kevin Willis. He's continued the argument from a moment ago, the foul that was called on Willis on that illegal pick. Well, they say it's on Blaylock. Willis and Blaylock all over Joe Forte and Hugh Evans. And Atlanta assistant Brian Winters also getting involved with Joe Forte.
As well as Dick Helm and Lenny Wilkins, who does not have a technical during these playoffs. Lenny has really minded his manners, so to speak, and just concentrated on coaching his ball club. But the Atlanta Hawks are a very frustrated team right now, trailing by 11 points, somewhat intimidated by this crowd noise here in the building and unable to play their game. But they have had their problems on the road all season long. They have a big disparity between the amount of points they score at home on the road. It's a difference of 15 points and a big difference in field goal percentage, and they just cannot apply the defensive pressure on the road that they do at home.
That technical was called on Blaylock. Let's go over to Amon.
Mookie Blaylock was very upset that Danny Crawford, the official, was putting his finger in Mookie's face. Mookie knocked his hand down one time. Danny Warren put his finger up again, and Mookie went off at that point, and that's when he got the technical. Mom?
All right, Amon, Matt, you mentioned the disparity between the Hawks playing at home, where they're 36-5. The road record is 21-20. That's a major difference on a quality ball club.
There's Mookie Blaylock asking a question of Danny Crawford, and there the exception that he took, putting the finger in his face. And Mookie is one of those very professional guys. Just goes out, plays hard, very rarely complains to referees. So he was particularly upset with the treatment he got from Crawford.
Indiana leads by 10 as we come up on 3 minutes remaining in the first half. A very quiet game offensively once again for Derek McKee. McKee gives it back out to Workman. Try to return it. Blaylock with the steal. Blaylock for Lang, who is fouled. What a sensational play by Mookie Blaylock, who lost the dribble momentarily, then kept it alive and was able to lead the break. The foul on McKee, his third.
Well, Mookie has been frisky with his defense all along, and this started this fast break almost out of control there as he left his feet, but bailed out by Andrew Lang flashing into the lane. Mookie started out trying to pick off passes and little dribbles by Rik Smits, was unable to do it in the first quarter and was somewhat set back. He has still battled hard defensively, and now I think he's fired up after the technical foul.
Lang a 68% free throw shooter, now 2 of 3 from the line. Well, Derek McKee sitting down after picking up his third. 0 for 1 from the field. That has been it. And Sam Mitchell makes his first appearance of the afternoon. So Mitchell has checked in, replacing McKee. Indiana leads 45-36. Game 3 of the best of 7. The series is tied at 1. Game 4 here tomorrow afternoon. And the ball goes back to Atlanta. Manning, rebounded by Miller. Mitchell's pass nearly picked off. Here's Mitchell. Strong drive by Sam Mitchell. In his 5th year out of Mercer, located in Macon, Georgia. Came over to the Pacers from Minnesota in the deal for Chuck Person. Back comes Workman. Just under 2 minutes left in the half. Miller looking for position. Miller is rejected by Lang. Atlanta has a 3-on-2. And a foul is called. It's on Mitchell.
Well, Reggie Miller, for the amount of shots that he's taken, very rarely forces a shot. This time he is double teamed. Actually, this time he's coming off the screen, a double screen, and when that double screen is set, he is not getting the good opportunities. He tries to force it here. He actually walked with the ball, and when he does get doubled, he'll give the ball up. He is an unselfish player. That time, a little bit too much out of control.
Blaylock on the line for the first time. 73% free throw shooter. There's Rik Smits replacing Dale Davis. Davis has not scored. Mookie Blaylock for the season shot 41%, 7 of 25 the first 2 games of this playoff series. And as you saw, 0 for 2 here this afternoon. Mookie Blaylock making the All-Star team for the first time this season. Among the leaders in steals and assists. Smits putting it down. Smits heard it from the crowd as he was able to protect the ball with the Hawks going for the steal.
Well, Blaylock and Lang made it an adventure for Hayward Workman to get the ball off the floor. He kept his board and kept the ball under control. Thus the easy layup for Smits.
Workman took a hit from Blaylock on the offensive foul.
Here's that dribble ahead by Workman as he escaped the trapping defense of Lang and Blaylock, and Smits did the wise thing as his man was trailing behind, just went right to the basket. Danny Manning moving on this screen as Hayward Workman just did an excellent job there of fighting over that moving screen by Danny Manning.
Smits lost the dribble, then is rejected by Lang. Here's Elo. He blew the layup. Greg Elo going to the back iron on the breakaway. Indiana leads by 11. Smits drawing the double team. And he has been unstoppable. 18 points in this first half for Rik Smits.
That was a 2-for-1 situation. That time the Pacers did not hurry, did not rush, went into the big guy. He got a shot up with 32 seconds. They should get another possession.
Foul is called with 19 seconds remaining. Foul on Mitchell. Well, in Game 2 Thursday night, Indiana lost to Atlanta 92-69, 69 points, the fewest ever in an NBA playoff game, breaking the league low mark of 70. And here we are, late first half, and the Pacers have already scored 51 points after managing only 69 the other night.
And this will be the first time in 6 playoff games that the Indiana Pacers have been leading at halftime. And Reggie Miller told me yesterday, he said, we don't want to be leading at halftime. We're a much tougher team, a much more focused team when we come out of the locker room at halftime when we are behind. We like to be backed into that corner a little bit.
Returning for the Hawks.
Well, the Pacers over that stretch have won 4 of 5. The 3-game sweep of Orlando, for the most part, a come-from-behind effort, and they split the first 2 with the Hawks.
But Larry Brown will be the first one to tell you that he felt his team was very, very lucky to win those first 2 games in Orlando. It took the 3-pointer by Byron Scott at the end of Game 1, and then a questionable 24-second clock in Game 2. But he was glad to get out of Orlando with 2 wins.
I wonder if Nick coach Pat Riley shares those sentiments. I think last night he was beginning to wonder with the Knicks down by 19, but they came from behind once again, doing it in the fourth quarter in that extraordinary game that was played in Chicago. The game winner served up by Tony Kukoc to put the Bulls back into the series. Fleming able to go all the way. Final seconds of the quarter. Indiana by 13. Elo looking for the shot. Elo, yes! Frank Elo with a buzzer basket. So at the half, Rik Smits leading the way for Indiana with 18. Reggie Miller turning it. He has 13. Kevin Willis, high man for the Hawks with 12. And it's the Pacers 53, the Hawks 42. Coming up, Bob Costas and the Prudential halftime report after this.
Sunday, tip-off times 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific sharp when the Hawks face the Pacers. Then, Hakeem and the Rockets try to even the score with Barkley and the Suns. And in prime time, the Bulls look to make it 2 in a row against Ewing and the Knicks. The ball's in the air at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific for Triple Header Sunday on NBC. This is the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the Prudential. Peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
The Pacers, who got only 69 points in the entire game in losing Game 2 of this series in Atlanta, lead 53-42 at the half at home in Game 3. Bob Costas back in New York. Game 2 of our doubleheader will be in Denver between the Nuggets and the Jazz. Utah leads that series 2-0. But, of course, Denver rebounded from an 0-2 deficit against Seattle. A few days ago, Peter Bessie sat down with Denver head coach Dan Issel.
Dan Issel wore his game on his face, a badge of honor, a physical and emotional player who helped lead the Kentucky Colonels to an ABA championship. His Hall of Fame career ended with the Denver Nuggets.
I thought I had this all figured out when I retired. I was going to go back to Kentucky, be a horseman, and never see another NBA basketball game again.
Dan, nobody was more surprised that you went into coaching than me. It just never seemed to me when I was covering you in the ABA that you would get into coaching. What made you try it?
I saw that the franchise was going in the wrong direction, and if nothing else, I'm a big fan of the Denver Nuggets. And I thought that there were some things that I could help, not only on the floor, but off the floor, to get the franchise headed back to what it used to be. And I thought with a little direction and a little experience, they could be a pretty good basketball team. And I wasn't doing anything else.
Did you pattern yourself after any of your coaches, or did you take something from Adolph Rupp, something from Hubie Brown, something from Larry Brown, nothing from Doug Moe?
Nothing from Doug Moe. Maybe my wardrobe. but no, that's exactly what I tried to do, is try to draw from each one of them, because each one of them had a great strength. Doug's was dealing with players. Hubie's probably the best prepared coach that I ever played for. Coach Rupp, I think discipline, dedication, hard work, that stuff, as corny as it sounds, still works.
You seem to coach with no ego, which surprises me again. I mean, you had a tremendous ego as a player. Now, how do you shift around?
I think for a couple of reasons. I'm very dependent on my assistant coaches, and so I realize that it isn't me. It's us. We have a team in the coaching staff just like the team on the floor. And secondly, I realize that this is a players' league. I think the best thing a coach can do is prepare his team and try to stay out of the way.
Did Bernie get a lot of grief for hiring you?
I don't think so. My hiring has probably given us a little extra time to develop this team. Our vision is long term. We're not ready to win the NBA championship.
I got a peek at your contract the other day. I saw that unlike most coaches, you've got a very small clause for winning a championship. I mean, $25,000 for winning a championship. Most guys have it like $400,000, $500,000, $250,000.
Well,
what were they telling you?
Well, you have to understand that I took over a team that had won 20 in 24 games the 2 years prior. So winning a championship during the contract negotiation.
Well, Issel's team will be hard-pressed against a Utah club that's playing its best ball of the season, and Karl Malone is the single biggest reason. He has been outstanding in these playoffs against both San Antonio and Denver. With more on the mailman, Dick Enberg and Snapper Jones in Denver.
Bob, we sat down with Karl Malone yesterday, and he was very candid. The playoffs bring out more than just deep intensity on the floor. They go down deep into the reflective department. And Malone said, good news, bad news, Utah. If the Jazz win the championship, he's going to close the postman's drawer.
I've accomplished some things playing a game of basketball, and it's been great for me and my family. But But the only thing to keep me motivated to play the game now is the NBA championship. And if I won a ring this year, I have no reason to play anymore. Financially, you know, I'm secure for life on my style of living for me and my family, and that is the only thing to keep me motivated. I'm not a fan of the game. I'm saying it's not one player out there. I love John Stockton to death, but I won't go up and stand in a ticket line and buy a ticket to see him play. So I'm not a fan of the game. I respect the game and whatever it's done for me, and hopefully what I've done for the game, but I'm not a fan of it. It's a lot of other things in life that I'd rather do. And the only thing that keep me motivated to play is a championship. And once I get that, why come back and play again?
You mean to tell me the challenge of winning 2 championships wouldn't motivate you?
No, absolutely not. Without a doubt, it wouldn't.
This from a man that has 4 years left on a multi-million-dollar contract. Why would he want to walk away?
Well, I think it's the same thing that happens with all great players when they feel that they've done everything else and they've got life ahead of them. They want to try some other opportunities. But also, once you've won that championship, there's always a challenge, Dick, of winning 2, and that's really the defining moment of greatness. And Karl Malone, he wants to be remembered as one of the NBA's all-time greats.
Well, he's ready to go fishing, and you can see the glint in his eye. This game today, a victory for Utah, sends him one step closer to that rod and reel. Bob?
All right, Dick, Snapper, thanks a lot. When we come back, Julius Erving joins us, and we'll talk about the Scottie Pippen situation. That's after a message from Prudential and the proverbial word from the NBA. Okay, Dr. J is with us. Brief recap of what happened last night in Chicago. The Knicks had made a furious comeback. They were down 22 at one point. They draw even with 1.8 seconds remaining against the Bulls. The Bulls have the ball after a timeout for the last shot, and there's Scottie Pippen in the middle of their huddle. And after Phil Jackson had diagrammed a play for Tony Kukoc, not for Pippen, Pippen became angry. They engaged in a shouting match. A second timeout was called, but Pippen, apparently after being asked by Phil Jackson, "Are you in or out?" said, "I'm out," and sat down. Now, it is natural for the star of a team to want the ball for the last shot. That part of it is natural.
Oh, no question, the star of the team always wants the last shot, and if the team has multiple stars, then they all want the last shot, but really it has to boil down to what the coach's decision is. And it's strange, in these playoff series, sometimes it seems like it's boiling down to what teams do to themselves, not what other teams are doing to them in terms of affecting the fragile egos that are involved in the playoffs. And for Scottie Pippen, you know, to be upset about the play being called for Tony Kukoc, it's totally inexcusable. It's a matter of losing sight of the big picture and only thinking about the microscopic view. So it's hard for me to really understand and relate to.
This is for context. Not to excuse Pippen, but for context. He's been asked to be the man now that Michael Jordan is gone. That is obviously weighing on him. Whether for good reasons or bad, a lot of people believe he has resented Tony Kukoc for a long time. Kukoc might wind up making more money than Pippen presently makes, and so there's a little bit of an undercurrent there. Had it been another player other than Kukoc, it might not have added insult to injury from Pippen's perspective. Plus, Pippen has faltered in the fourth quarter. He's had some good games overall, but just 2 for 13 in the 3 fourth quarters against the Knicks and only 2 points last night. That's the context of why he felt like he did, but it doesn't excuse what he did.
You know, we're only guessing in terms of the context. He had a pretty good game going for him, and over the course of the season, he has been the man for the team. In the future for the Bulls, he is the man. So you always got to keep an eye on the big picture. You know, you can't be affected by play to play, you know, isolated situations. He probably felt that he could post up John Starks and maybe get a shot over him, but Kukoc had won a couple of games. Phil Jackson was the one who was responsible for making the call, and it's Scott Pippen's job to set a pick, bring the ball in bounds, or do whatever he's supposed to do with that particular play called for one of his teammates.
And whether or not he gets the last shot, he's important as a decoy. If he's on the floor, they got to put somebody of merit on him defensively.
There's no question about it. You know, and this was not a win or lose situation. It was a win or tie. If they make the shot, they win the game. If the shot gets missed, it's a tie game and they go into overtime. So then you got 5 more minutes to do your thing. And of course, Pippen was going to be the focus of Chicago's offense in the overtime.
Very briefly, lost in the shuffle here, the Derek Harper situation.
Yeah, that was a strange scenario, too, considering that this is the swing game, and traditionally in playoff series, the third game has been the swing game. Whoever wins that third game many times wins the series, and I don't know whether that's going to happen in this series or not. I seriously doubt it, but for Derek Harper, who's a veteran player, to get thrown out of the game along with JoJo English, and both of them will probably get suspended for tomorrow's game, it's not an equitable trade-off.
Yeah, it wasn't an equitable trade-off last night, and if the Knicks are without Harper, as is likely tomorrow, it increases the Bulls' chances. So far, there has not been a ruling on fines and or suspensions stemming from the Harper-English fight. When we get word, of course, we'll pass it right along. Still another half left at Market Square. Pacers leading it by 11, and we'll send it back to Marv Albert and Matt Gukas after these messages from your local station.
This has been the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the Prudential. Peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
Halftime of Game 3 of this best of 7, and the Pacers with a 53-42 lead on the Atlanta Hawks. We welcome you back to Indianapolis. Marv Albert with Matt Gukas and Ahmad Rashad. You look at the stat sheet in the first half. Rik Smits has been the man for the Indiana Pacers. 18 points in 19 minutes.
Yesterday at practice, Larry Brown challenged both Derek McKee and Rik Smits to step up offensively. He told his ball club, we can't depend on just Reggie Miller to do the scoring. We need it from somebody. Smits got them started off in the right direction.
Well, let's take a look at some of the close-up numbers in the first half. A look at the Miller Genuine Draft halftime statistics. The Hawks at 42% shooting on 16 of 38. Indiana shooting well, bouncing back from Game 2 with 21 of 43, 49%. Danny Manning only 2 for 6. Both he and Derek McKee have been quiet in this first half. And off the boards, the Indiana Pacers have had the edge 21-15. Rik Smits with 18 points on 8 of 15 from the field. Let's go to Ahmad with Atlanta coach Lenny Wilkens.
All right, thanks, Marv. Coach, down by 11 points at halftime. Are you running as much as you'd like to?
Well, we're not, and what happened was that they've hurt us on the boards a little bit. We got to do a better job, number one. Number two, we let Smits get too good a position on the low post, and that's hurt us. So we're having to take the ball out rather than, getting some rebounds and getting out and running.
What about Mookie Blaylock? He came in with the bad hamstring, only has 2 points at halftime. Is the hamstring bothering him?
Well, he's been trying to get everybody else involved and get other guys the ball, and, because we wanted to get going early. But we've got to set some screens for him, free him up also.
All right, good luck in your second half, Coach. All right, back to you, Marv.
Thank you, Ahmad. We'll be back with the second half from Market Square Arena in a moment. Pacers with a 53-42 lead on the Hawks. And it will be Atlanta ball as we get underway in the third quarter. John Koncak up front with Danny Manning and Kevin Willis, Mookie Blaylock, and Stacey Altman in the backcourt. Kevin Willis with a quiet second quarter, 12 points all in the first. Blaylock for Koncak. Workman very aggressive to get to the ball.
Well, kind of a strange play to start the second half to get a jump shot for John Koncak, something he didn't do very well in the first half, and then just the quickness and aggressiveness of Workman, he just out-hustled Blaylock to that loose ball.
Koncak is now 1 for 6. Blaylock for 3. Rebounded by McKee. Manning is back. Here's McKee. Beautiful move by Derek McKee for his first field goal, and a quick timeout taken by Lenny Wilkens. Biggest lead of the game for Indiana. It is a 15-point margin. So the Indiana Pacers hoping to go up 2 games to 1 in this best of 7. In Game 1 this past Tuesday, Indiana surprised Atlanta at the Omni with a 96-85 victory. Strong game for Antonio Davis, who had 12 of his 15 points in the third quarter. Dale Davis, 14 points, 15 rebounds. They sparked the victory, but A different scenario in game 2 as the Indiana Pacers with only 69 points, the fewest ever in an NBA playoff game. Mookie Blaylock had the triple-double. Indiana shot just under 32%. Mookie today 0 for 3 from the field, only 2 points. Willis on a fadeaway jump shot. Indiana leads 57-44.
The first points for Kevin Willis since the first quarter when he scored 12 points and got off to a terrific start. Didn't really see the ball very much in the second quarter.
Workman and Miller in the backcourt. McKee with Smits and Dale Davis up front. They double up on Smits. McKee shoots the three.
Well, there, the double team that time by Atlanta finally coming down on Rik Smits. He made them believers after a terrific first half, scoring 18.
And a blocking foul sent Workman sprawling. Foul committed by Koncak.
Another long jump shot means another long rebound and another quick move by Workman and a very hard blocking foul by John Koncak as he sent Haywood Workman sprawling to the sidelines. He slid about 15 feet to the out-of-bounds area where Smits is bringing the ball in now.
Third foul called on Koncak. In third quarter, Smits off the fake. Yes. Rik Smits with 20 points. He has that beautiful medium range touch. He came out, able to jump start the Indiana Pacers. They went to him right at the start of the game. Mookie Blaylock with his first field goal. Indiana 59, Atlanta 46.
This is normally Mookie's reaction when his team is struggling. He tries to put the whole thing on his shoulders, and he does take a lot of outside shots. If he makes them, he can do what he did in that Miami game where he scored 29. If he misses, it'll start a lot of fast breaks the other way.
Shot clock at 5. Dale Davis. Rebounded by Danny Manning. Now 2 for 7.
Well, the Atlanta Hawks trying to get back into this ballgame. They're trying to do it with perimeter jump shots, and that's a difficult way to do it. I understand they're playing on the road, but you have to get much more aggressive, face your man up, and put the ball on the floor and try to get to the basket or into the lane to draw the defense.
Walkman all over Miller, not preventing the look. Smits. Good hustle by Dale Davis, and he deflected it off Kevin Willis.
Well, this is what the Davises do on both boards, and Dale Davis didn't come up with that rebound, but his activity around the basket and his hands and his power and strength forced Willis to just kick it out of bounds.
Miller for 3, way off. Saved by Dale Davis, handled by Kevin Willis. Here's Mookie Blaylock. So Mookie on the break, and it cuts the Indiana lead to 11.
All started with an ill-advised shot by Reggie Miller. A fresh shot clock. Didn't need the three-point attempt there. Reggie is best when he receives the ball from somebody else and puts the 3 up.
Five of the 24. McKee sets up Workman. 3-point attempt. In a very solid game for Haywood Workman in his third NBA season out of Oral Roberts. Koncak again. He is 1 for 7. Jump ball call between Willis and Smits.
Well, Reggie Miller and Kevin Willis getting all tied up as Miller trying to set that back pick on the underneath out-of-bounds play. That may have caused that bad shot. I think Reggie was upset and frustrated and mad that a call wasn't made, but that's no way to react, taking a bad three-pointer.
Blaylock able to work free for the shot.
Atlanta just has no inside game right now with Koncak taking jumpers, Blaylock firing off picks. Either Danny Manning or Stacey Augmon has to get inside. They got to get the ball in there and see what they can do and maybe draw a double team.
Foul was called on Manning, his third. And Derek McKee to the line. He's 2 for 2 from the line. Substitution. Vern Fleming is back, replacing Haywood Workman. Workman leaves with 9 points.
Early in this third quarter, when Derek McKee drove through the lane and made a nice driving lap, but looked over the Indiana bench, the whole coaching staff, the players, as timeout was being called, they all were nodding their head. Yes, that's what we want from Derek McKee, but he still remains an unaggressive player. When he catches the ball, he's got to get in that triple threat position and challenge the defense.
He has taken only 3 shots this afternoon. Altman beat Miller. Stacey Altman off a good lead pass cuts it to a 13-point Indiana lead. Pacers have led by as many as 15, and they have led throughout. 7 minutes and 20 seconds to go, third quarter. Fleming and Miller in the backcourt. Smits, McKee, Dale Davis up front. Bad pass. Miscommunication between Fleming and Miller.
And give credit to the pressure defense of Mookie Blaylock, forcing that turnover by Vern Fleming.
John Koncak sitting down, replaced by Andrew Lang. Lang supplying some offense in that first half.
And Rik Smits not only getting good inside position against Koncak, but Koncak doesn't put any pressure inside on Smits to possibly pick up a foul because he's always hanging on the perimeter.
14 on the 24. Danny Manning and Donovan just to the right of his one-time coach at Kansas, and with the LA Clippers, Larry Brown. Good ball movement. Manning gets inside. Willis. Rebound handled by Smits.
Still, though, a much better sequence for Atlanta, and it all started with the double team on Altman. They got good ball movement, got a good shot, and an offensive rebounding opportunity. They got to continue to pound the ball inside to get back into this game.
Lang entangling with Smits. And the holding foul charged to Lang. That is his third foul.
There's Rik Smits working very hard, and he's had a much more difficult time against Andrew Lang as they get all tangled up, and the foul being called on Andrew Lang.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, less filling. Can your beer do this? By McDonald's. What you want is what you get at McDonald's today. And by Mazda. Mazda, it just feels right.
Now look at the state capitol building, downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. Pacer fever has taken hold of this city, and the Indiana Pacers, before the sellout crowd here today, have certainly turned it in the shooting department. After the poor shooting in game number 2, you can see the difference. Smits going from 4 of 15 to 9 of 17. Reggie Miller showing signs. Haywood Workman hitting 4 out of 7, including 1 from downtown. 49% on 25 for 51 to this point for Indiana. 6.5 to go in the third. Here's Fleming. Vern Fleming extends to a 65-50 Indiana lead.
That time the Hawks trying to scramble defensively, run and track the basketball. Reggie Miller and Fleming read it beautifully, and Fleming took care of the rest.
Blaylock and Altman in the backcourt. Willis with Lang. Manning up front. Manning close to a travel. Lang gets to it. Draws a triple team and calls for time. They collapsed on Andrew Lang.
Swarming defense by the Indiana Pacers, just bottling up Andrew Lang. He could not even turn and look and throw it out. We're going to have a full timeout.
So with just under 6 minutes remaining in the third, we'll take a break. Larry Brown in his first year as head coach of the Indiana Pacers after a year and a half with the LA Clippers, and what Larry Brown has brought to this team, he has dramatically improved their defensive approach, as you can see. Pacers allowing about 90 points per game during the playoffs through the 3 games with Orlando, and right through this game number 3 against Atlanta. Hugh Evans with the call. It's against Indiana. Look at the shooting rundown here today. Dale Davis called for the foul. Danny Manning, 2 for 9. John Contact, 1 for 7. Mookie Blaylock, 2 for 6.
A lot of long jump shots, not much of an inside game. They got a good look when they went inside Auburn. That time, they go inside to Kevin Willis, which is the guy they normally like to go. They're a little bit gun-shy of going in because they had so many problems against Miami, but they're going to have to see how Indiana is going to defend him.
Open on the penetration, and he drew the foul.
Rik Smits.
Rik Smits called for his second. And Stacey Augmon, Atlanta's #1 draft pick and the 9th selection overall 3 years ago. We'll go to the line to shoot a couple.
Oh, you mentioned the good defense played by Indiana, and there's no question Larry Brown brought a defensive commitment to this team. But when you have those kinds of numbers, it's generally because you take care of the ball. Not take care of the ball because the Pacers turn it over a lot, but you slow your offense down. They are at the bottom of the league in shots taken at 79 a game. So that's a big part of it. It's the tempo at the offensive end, which helps their defense.
Augmon hits 1 of 2. Pacers 65, and the Hawks 51. Marv Albert, Mike Kukas, and Ahmad Rashad from Market Square Arena. Tomorrow night, we'll be at Chicago Stadium for Game 4 between the Knicks and the Chicago Bulls to cap off another big day of playoff coverage here on NBC. Lang with the shot. And back comes McKee. Fleming. Oh, fling by Vern Fleming. He had nowhere to go, but was able to hit.
You're right, Rob. He wasn't thinking shot when he put the ball on the floor. I think he was just trying to draw defense and kick it over to Reggie Miller, but he got caught halfway between and just flipped up the lucky hook.
Biggest lead of the game. Indiana by 16. Excellent defensive sequence. Again, a bad shot, but he got glass, and he will take it.
Who said it's better to be lucky than good? We saw it happen to Fleming, now we see it happen to Andrew Lang.
Andrew had that embarrassed look on his face, but he will not say no to it.
He will give it back.
67-53, Indiana. Smits throwing it out after the double team came. Fleming. And Elo gets to it. Hawks on the run. Blaylock pulled up, changed his mind, and found Augmon.
Nice fast break by Atlanta, which is something they have to do. They are not a good half-court offensive team. They have to pressure defensively, and they got to get running opportunities from it.
.345 remaining in the third. McKee running into a crowd, and a foul is called. It's on McKee, an offensive foul.
Fleming putting the ball on the floor, having his head down, but you know where Reggie Miller was all on. Reggie's not scoring very much, but he was stayed out on the perimeter, which opened things up in the middle. Andrew Lang just turning, spinning, having no idea where he is on the floor as the eyebrows go up, as he did not call glass.
A very sheepish response from Andrew Lang. Elo got the step. Good recovery by Dale Davis. And Antonio Davis with the rebound. Pacers with a 12-point lead as we come up on 3 minutes left in the third. Byron Scott, Reggie Miller back on the floor. Shot clock at 5. Workman. Line drives it home. Hayward Workman has hit some big buckets right at the end of the 24, and the 69 points matches Indiana's entire output for game number 2 on Thursday night. And the foul is called on the Pacers. Well, no, apparently it was deflected out of bounds, so Atlanta will throw it.
Atlanta getting one of their rare second chance opportunities with Dale Davis, Tony Davis, and Rik Smits, and everybody on the Indiana Pacers going hard at the defensive board. They have given up very few second shots.
Blaylock with the lead for Altman. Well executed. Stacey Altman. One of the few Atlanta Hawks to have impressive numbers. 5 for 7 for the most part from the inside. Altman with 11. Indiana 69, Atlanta 57. Scott with a nice setup. Dale Davis giving the Pacers a 14-point lead.
Beautiful curl by Scott, and with both Reggie Miller and Scott on the floor, and Elo and Altman concentrating so hard on them, it's opening the floor, spreading it out, and that's how a big guy can get an easy lay-in inside.
Mookie Blaylock had the step, changed his mind, but no one in sight. And he's upset.
Wide open spaces on this floor as Kevin Willis showing big to try to help out on Scott, and that enabled Dale Davis to slide in for the easy catch and lay-in.
2 minutes to go in the third. Miller off the pick. 15 for Reggie Miller. Pacers lead 73-57. Elo, beautiful ball by Craig Elo going right back at Miller.
Well, Reggie Miller getting caught there, did not stay down defensively, and Elo took advantage of it in the interior of the Indiana Pacer defense, just falling asleep, and nobody stepped up.
Miller went down, involved with Altman. Miller with the setup, and a foul is called. Antonio Davis was hit by Andrew Lang, for Lang his 4th personal.
Reggie being guarded so closely by Stacey Altman, doing the right thing, putting his head down, driving to the basket, drawing Lang to him so he can get the easy little dish to Davis. Reggie Miller makes so many things happen for you at the offensive end because of his ability to shoot the ball and because he works so hard without the ball using screens. It opens things up, and that's good to see him knock a shot down every once in a while. Everybody's going to look at his final numbers and what he shot, how many points he had, but you just cannot underestimate what he means offensively to this ball club.
And Reggie Miller will get a rest. 5 of 11 from the field, 15 points. Antonio Davis only a 64%. Free throw shooter hits 1 of 2. Pacers 74, the Hawks 59. As Watley lost it, took his eye off the ball. And on the scramble, Fleming is trying to call for a timeout, but he's tied up.
Well, that's the kind of effort the Pacers have been getting all season long, and what Larry Brown preached about yesterday. Great hustle from behind on the little flick by Davis. He can't control it. Loose ball. Looks like Lang's going to pick it up and get an easy layup, but Vern Fleming comes firing in from the other side to dive on the floor, which is what you should do when there's a loose one down there, and consequently we get the jump.
Vern Fleming, 10-year veteran from the University of Georgia, and controls the tip. Off a bad toss.
Bad toss, plus I think he used Lang to catapult himself into the air.
Enos Watley turned it over. He had just come on for Mookie Blaylock in his final minute of the third quarter. Dale Davis for Byron Scott. Dale Davis on the tip.
If you don't put a body on the Davises, they will kill you on the offensive board.
Indiana leads by 17, and the Pacers receiving a standing ovation. They try to trap Watley, and that time Workman a bit too aggressive, called for the foul. But Workman and Fleming are certainly enjoying the double teams.
Oh, there's no question the Pacers are feeding off the enthusiasm of this crowd as they have now finally come to Market Square and appreciate what this team is doing. For years and years, ever since the ABA days when they left, when the Pacers became an NBA team back in the old George McGinnis and Mel Daniels, Roger Brown days, this has still remained kind of a high school basketball, college basketball interest type situation. Now they're appreciating NBA basketball.
Yes, back in those ABA days, the Indiana Pacers won 3 titles. The last time back in 1973 as they knocked off the Kentucky Colonels in the ABA Championship Series. Scott with the rebound. We come up on 10 seconds to go in the third quarter. Indiana leads 76-59. Fleming works the clock down. And the tip off the mark by Smits. So that is the end of the third quarter. The Pacers hearing it from this capacity crowd. They lead by 17 as we head to the fourth quarter. We'll be back after a word from your local station.
Copyrighted telecast of the National Basketball Association may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the NBA.
Great scene here at Market Square, and hanging from the rafters, the retired jerseys of Roger Brown and Mel Daniels and George McGinnis. Three of the standouts of the ABA days of the Indiana Pacers. Mel Daniels, now a scout with the Pacers, was most valuable player of the ABA in 1969 and 1971. George McGinnis shared MVP honors with Julius Erving, then of the New York Nets back in 1975. Indiana leads by 17 as this fourth quarter gets underway. Marv Albert, Matt Dukas, and Ahmad Rashad from Indianapolis. Scott on the follow and run into by Elo.
There's no question Byron Scott is thinking about his jump shot right now. Did not shoot it well in game 2, just 1 for 8. He's not shot it particularly well from the outside. And as an old professional and knowing how to score, has been thinking about driving to the basket more and has been more effective doing that. But right now, his jump shot does not look sharp.
Sam Mitchell will throw in. Up front with Smits and Antonio Davis. Fleming and Scott in the backcourt. And the whistle away from the ball. Dan Crawford with the call on Lang, who is jostling for possession with Smits. And for Lang, that's his 5th.
Well, you know, Lenny Wilkins talked about it at halftime, and I'm sure every time out to his big people, Konkak and Lang, do not let Smits catch that ball with 1 or 2 feet in the paint. Knock him off the block, and that's what Lang was trying to do, push him out.
Well, John Konkak returns. Konkak only 1 of 7 from the field. Smits goes right at him.
And that's what happens when you catch him 2 feet in the paint. He's just too tall, keeps the ball up over his head, 7'4", nothing John Konkak or any double team can do about it.
Smits has 22 points. Ortman lost it. Fleming with the steal. Fleming leading Scott. And the foul is called. Oh, Byron Scott doing a little mugging at the expense of Stacey Augmon.
Byron Scott trying to finish off this fast break on the little soft pass by Fleming, getting the Hawks up into the air, and the hard hack by Augmon. And Byron Scott is talking, but really not talking to Stacey Augmon. He may have been something to Danny Manning, but those are the kinds of taunts that the officials and the league is watching very closely, because that's what starts trouble.
Well, Byron Scott will claim he was chatting in the direction of the NBC cameraman, but Augmon and Manning was certainly in the neighborhood.
That's not necessary. Just go out and play basketball. These two are going to have to lace them up tomorrow afternoon, and you don't want to get anybody ready for anything. Oh, we still have plenty of time in this one. 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
However, a 20-point lead for the Indiana Pacers. Manning. Danny Manning is now 2 for 10 from the field. Konkak. John Konkak, 1 of 8. But another opportunity for the Hawks. Here's Elo. Manning. A 4th chance for the Hawks, but a foul is called. Antonio Davis called for his 2nd. And Indiana takes a timeout with 10 minutes, 41 seconds remaining in the fourth.
Miller Genuine Draft presents Genuine Moments.
Today's Miller Moment takes us back to the 1988 NCAA championship game between Oklahoma and Kansas. Number 25, Danny Manning, leading the way for the Jayhawks, who were coached by a fellow by the name of Larry Brown. Kansas went on to defeat Mookie Blaylock and the Oklahoma Sooners 83-79. Manning went on to win Player of the Year honors. And in recognition of this moment, Miller Genuine Draft will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. As far this afternoon, it has not been a memorable game for Danny Manning. Minute and a half gone by in the fourth. Manning getting inside. Manning is now 2 for 11.
It's kind of scattershot of who they're looking for inside. They tried Augman a few times, and he turned up some good things. They tried Willis once, and now they're giving Danny Manning a chance.
Smits with the move on contact. It has been a brilliant performance by the product of Eindhoven, Holland, Rik Smits. Manning draws the foul. Indiana now with an 81-59 lead. 2 minutes into the fourth quarter. Sam Mitchell charged with his third foul.
And Kevin Willis and Dwayne Farrell ready to check in. And Willis is waiting. I wouldn't be surprised if he came in for John Koncak, who has had no luck at all guarding Smits. And I think Lenny might want to take a look in this fourth quarter to see what a smaller, quicker lineup might do against Indiana and might neutralize Rik Smits.
Rik Smits came out in very aggressive fashion. If there has been one consistent criticism of Smits over the years, it has been the lack of aggression. Well, the New York Knicks saw an aggressive Rik Smits in the playoffs in the first round last season. Smits had a terrific playoff run, although the Pacers were eliminated by the Knicks. Smits turned it up during the course of the regular season and had his best NBA campaign. And he continued it in the first round of the playoffs against Orlando, but was very quiet first 2 games of this series and has certainly come on here today. 22nd timeout has been called. Indiana Pacers try to make it a 2-1 advantage of the best of 7, a series that continues here tomorrow afternoon here on NBC, 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the telecast of the game. And then Game 5 in Atlanta on Tuesday, Game 6 and 7 if necessary. Thursday back here at Market Square, and then if there is a Game 7, it will be played in Atlanta.
Well, Lenny has in fact gone with Willis down the middle, and no doubt he'll be checked by Rik Smits, and Willis might try to take him out on the floor, face him up, shoot the jumper if it's there, and if Smits comes out on him, try to drive him to the basket.
Smits up front with Antonio Davis and McKee. Backcourt now of Fleming and Miller. Nice look, and Antonio Davis puts it down. A setup from Reggie Miller.
Oh, there's Reggie drawing that defense, and it's just easy when they all jump out at him.
Indiana 83, Atlanta 61. Successful outside shot for Danny Manning. And Indiana leads by 20.
In the first 2 games of the series, Danny Manning very effective, averaging 21 points a ball game, close to 9 rebounds. But as you said, Mark, having all kinds of difficulty getting on track, and nobody's helping him get anything easy.
Again, Smits getting the possession. Willis had him in a headlock and committing that foul for Willis's third.
Reggie using that pin down so well, and just a little show by Danny Manning opens up spaces for Tony Davis and the easy pass from Miller. Smits, oddly enough, when he came into the league, everybody said we're going to have to put muscle and bulk on him and get him tough enough for the other centers in the NBA. Larry Brown took a different tack when he came to this ball club. He wanted him to lose weight. They took 20 pounds off him to make him quicker and more agile and take less pressure off his knees, and it has paid off.
Pacers 84 and the Hawks 63. 3 minutes gone by in the fourth. Enos Watley off the head fake. Hawks want a goaltend. Will not get it. It will be a foul called.
Rik Smits.
Foul on Smits.
A hard high pick by Willis sent Watley into the lane, and he can create some things when he gets in there. He has his head up, rarely makes mistakes, not looking to take a lot of shots, and normally when he does draw the defense, he makes the correct pass. This time he winds up on the free throw line as Rik Smits gets a well-deserved round of applause from this very loud and appreciative crowd here at Market Square.
Smits with 3 fouls, sitting down with 25 points. And you can see the sharp turn that Rik Smits has taken here today, 11 of 20 from the field. Watley called for the contact. Pacers 84 and the Hawks 64. That was team foul number 5 on Atlanta. So very early in this fourth quarter, the Pacers will go to the line. Coming up, the second part of our NBA doubleheader with Utah going against Denver. That is next. Karl Malone of the Utah Jazz going up against Dikembe Mutombo and the Denver Nuggets. Utah has won 5 straight playoff games.
Well, sense of urgency has been such an important factor in all of these playoff games. When this series started, there didn't seem to be any urgency on either team's part. Actually, Atlanta came out and played well in the first half and then fell asleep in the second, and all of a sudden, Indiana wound up with a win in their hand. Second game, the obvious sense of urgency on the part of Atlanta, and they blew away Atlanta. And you can see what's happened here today. It'll be interesting what happens tomorrow because it's back on the Hawks' shoulders.
And certainly a sense of urgency for the upstart Denver Nuggets. They did come back incredibly from an 0-2 deficit in the first round to knock off the Seattle Supersonics, the team with the best regular season record. Here's Watley. Enos Watley buries the jump shot, and the Pacers now lead 85-66. 8 minutes, 20 seconds to go in this fourth quarter. Fleming with the feed for Dale Davis. Fouled by Kevin Willis.
He was hog-tied, but I don't know how Vern Fleming ever got that pass through. He saw it all the way. Normally it's a bounce pass that would have to find its way underneath the basket, but that one got through in the air as Miller trying to set a screen to free up the big man, as he and Kevin Willis have met in the middle of the lane on a number of occasions today, and Willis has taken every opportunity to try to take some starch out of Reggie Miller.
Dale Davis in his third season out of Clemson, firing one off glass. Now, Matt, that is not one he's been working on in practice, and he is hearing it from his teammates.
A rare smile and grin from Dale Davis, who normally keeps that poker face all the time. He couldn't help laughing at that one.
I believe he called glass.
It was broken.
Pacers 86 and the Hawks 66. An offensive foul is called on Willis, setting an illegal pick for Kevin Willis. Foul number 4.
And once again, trying to nail Reggie Miller. Really kept his elbows and arms in. He just moved on the screen, but they're going to try to do anything they can to slow him down.
Fleming guarded by Watley. Fleming got the step. Rebounded by Antonio Davis.
Well, Kevin Willis took off. He's the biggest guy on the floor for Atlanta and their best rebounder, but he was releasing on the play, and nobody on the red shirt went for the basketball.
Fleming from Dale Davis. Beautiful ball movement throughout the game for the Pacers.
And this is what Larry Brown has preached to all of his team. Just because you're a big man, that doesn't mean you can't draw and kick or do some of the things that little people do. And just because you're a smaller player doesn't mean you can't get in on the boards and do what some of the big guys do.
Indiana leads by 22 points. And Hugh Evans with the call. Reggie Miller raising his hand.
Miller with his second
Foul on Miller, his second. Here's Mookie Blaylock returning. Enos Watley will sit down. Andrew Lang has come on. And Rik Smits will check back in.
Rik Smits.
Haywood Workman also back on the floor.
Well, if Lenny Wilkins learned anything at all from that little experiment of going small with Kevin Willis, he certainly didn't like it. It didn't do anything to turn the tide for Atlanta in this fourth quarter.
Hilo Pacers now lead 88-69. That's the first successful three-pointer for the Hawks. And the foul call away from the ball. It's on Elo. Timeout taken. 6:50 to go in the fourth.
Bob Costas in New York. As most of you probably know, the Bulls' Scottie Pippen refused to take the floor for the final 2 seconds of last night's win over the Knicks because he was upset that the last play hadn't been called for him. The Bulls won it despite Pippen's absence on Tony Kukoc's buzzer beater. Just a short while ago, the Bulls finished practice in the Chicago suburb of Deerfield, and our Marianne Grabavoy spoke briefly with Pippen about the Bulls' team unity.
Well, I think we're going to be able to regroup. We realized we've had 3 games, 4 quarter jinx, so we got to come out and play a lot better. We can't take back anything from yesterday's game, but we can definitely play better.
Where do you and Phil Jackson go from here? Where do you and Phil Jackson go from here?
To game 4.
Did you talk with Phil? Scotty?
Which is where Marv and Matt will be headed back to Chicago after they finish in Indianapolis. They'll work game 4 tomorrow. Marv?
All right, Bob. A couple of questions in my mind coming off that incident. I wonder how the crowd in Chicago will react to Scottie Pippen. There was an incident earlier this season where he did not play well, and he heard the boos from the crowd. He was upset by it, claimed that there were racial overtones involved. And also, I wonder, in the case of Pippen and Phil Jackson, what this does for Pippen's head. Can you imagine had there been an overtime session last night? How would Phil Jackson have handled that with Scottie Pippen?
Just a terrible situation. And in the past years, the Chicago Bulls have really thrived on controversies and come out and played very well. But this is really ridiculous, and it's really damage control right now. They're going to have to patch things up as quickly as possible and hopefully put some kind of a smiling face on it, but it's going to be very hard.
All right, here's Scott. But as you indicate, the Bulls have been through a number of incidents. In the past, though, they had a fellow wearing uniform number 23, and that would make the healing process much easier. Elbowing foul indicated by Joe Forte. It's on Smits. That's his 4th.
Well, Rik Smits, who has had his way with just about everybody inside. Danny Manning going to take a crack at Smits there as he picked him up on the switch, and just a little bit of flop and he gets the call. A little bit late in the day, but the Hawks will take it.
Indiana 89, Atlanta 69. 6 minutes to go, 4th quarter. Blaylock trying to set it up. Here's Scott. The assist for Miller. Pacers lead 91-69.
The Pacers have pounced on every mistake and just about every missed shot, looking to fast break the basketball, and they can do it.
Farrell, he had to change his shot. Reggie Miller claiming that Farrell, in doing so, should have been called for a foul. 91-71, Indiana. Smits getting position on Lang. Well, this is certainly a problem that Lenny Wilkins will have to address for tomorrow afternoon's game. How do you handle Rik Smits? It was not a problem over the first 2 games. Elo stripped, Farrell lost it, and a foul is called.
It's so hard to understand why in one given game, for example, game 2 on Thursday night, Rik Smits could never catch the ball in the lane. Pushed outside, taking bad shots. For whatever reason today, he has caught the ball in at least 1 foot in the paint, and many times too, about 15 times. And it's just hard to believe how it just changes from game to game. But the one thing the Hawks have not tried is fronting him in this situation, but when you're 7'4", that is a big gamble.
Dale Davis called for the foul. Wayne Farrell on the line. He now has 4 points. High-point man of the game, Smits with 27. Miller has 16. Workman has 11. Atlanta led by Willis with 14. Here's Blaylock. Indiana Pacers have shot just under 53% for the game. Atlanta at 41%. And it's been solid right throughout. Indiana jumping in front early. They have led all the way. Antonio Davis was fouled on the play, and he'll go to the line. Foul committed by Andrew Lang. That is his 6th.
Well, there you see the shooting percentages, and in the game on Thursday night, the Pacers shooting just 31%, and now Indiana holding their opponent to 41%. But really, the biggest statistic that seems to mirror what's going to happen for these two teams is the rebounding factor. And when the Pacers have out-rebounded their opponents ever since January, they are 23-0, and it's been clear in this series, whoever controls the boards wins the ballgame.
Derek McKee replacing Rik Smits. Well, Indiana has out-rebounded Atlanta 38-28 this afternoon. Since January the 26th, Pacers 23-0 when they have had the edge off the boards. That's the date where Derek McKee called for number 5. That's the defining date of the season for the Indiana Pacers, because from January 28th on, they like to use it as a measuring stick. They went 31-12. This after the bad start. They were 16 up and 23 down at the time.
And actually, that was the second best record in the league to Seattle over that time period. So that's why it was not the biggest shock in the world that as the 5th seed, and don't forget, they had to win 8 in a row to become the 5th seed, but not a real shock that they knocked off the Orlando Magic. I think the shock was that they did it in 3 straight.
4:25 remaining in this 4th quarter. Indiana on its way to taking a 2-1 lead in this best of 7. Scott hit from behind by Farrell. And again, Byron Scott staring at Danny Manning.
Well, Scott has been trying to get into the lane and get to the basket as much as possible with his jump shot not going. And he is fouled hard, as at least the Atlanta Hawks are still trying to be physical, still trying to send a little bit of message that they're going to show up tomorrow. But again, this is just smiling and just looking, but could border on trouble if it continues, and it's just not necessary. This is an opportunity. You take your win, you go up 2 games to 1, and get ready for tomorrow.
Atlanta taking a timeout with 4 minutes, 10 seconds remaining in the 4th.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by new Ice Brewed Ice Draft from Budweiser. Taste the future of draft beer. By Schick Tracer. It traces every curve on your face. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Back at Market Square in Indianapolis, the Grim Reaper receiving a standing ovation from this crowd. The indicator, at least from the Indiana point of view, that this one is over. Pacers 94 and the Hawks 73. Byron Scott with a second free throw. Adam Keefe has come on for Atlanta for the first time. Adam, a second-year player from Stanford, up front now with Danny Manning and Wayne Farrell. Mookie Blaylock, Stacey off into the backcourt. Scott with the steal. Workman could not get to it.
Oh, a couple of careless passes there after some very good defense, but Byron Scott flipped one over his head, and then a very careless, casual pass by Derek McKee that cost Hayward Workman an easy layup. You don't want to make plays no matter what the score is in these type of ball games.
Indiana with its 10th steal of the game. Ooh, pretty touch by Wayne Farrell. So Farrell with his second field goal, he has 6 points. 20-point lead for the Pacers. 3.5 remaining in the 4th. Miller, that was 2-point range. He was on the line. And here comes Wadley. And Doug Edwards checking in.
We're talking about how Mookie Blaylock is such a barometer of this ball club. And in some cases, will shoot the ball too much, and when you're only shooting 30%, that's not a good thing. But he does so many other things for this team that make them the reason why they have the best record in the Eastern Conference. And it all starts with his defensive pressure up the floor, his ability to rebound, and then to score some points. And he just never got on track today. And I've been looking for that little bit of an excuse with the sore hamstring that he had the other night, but nobody seems willing to say that that's the reason.
Well, as you know, Matt, if it is not something that will be admitted because they do not want to verify it to the opposition that there is a problem. If there is, Mookie played 33 minutes. Here's Scott. Rebounded by Antonio Davis. And the Pacers now lead 97-77. A very long afternoon for Danny Manning. 3 of 12 from the field. 7 of 8 from the line. Only 13 points. Did not do it. Altman with 13. So Manning 3 of 12. Koncak 1 of 8. Blaylock 2 of 8. Not pretty numbers for the Atlanta Hawks. And Larry Brown about to empty his bench. Lester Connor will come on, along with Kenny Williams and Sam Mitchell. And the crowd responding as Workman, Miller, and McKee head to the bench.
Reggie Miller had his problems defensively today. It seemed that everybody he looked at was able to score on him, but what a job he did at the offensive end as the whole Atlanta defense continued to focus on him. His presence spread the floor. He had just enough field goals, but created a lot of easy baskets for his teammates.
Miller with 16 points. Byron Scott. 13 for Scott. Indiana 99, Atlanta 79 as we come up on 2 minutes remaining in the fourth. Keith posting up and then stripped by Connor. Lester Connor for Byron Scott, and he's fouled by Enos Wadley.
Big keys for today, the defensive awareness and intensity that Larry Brown really preached hard for a good solid hour yesterday on the floor. They went over shell drill, talked about a lot of different things that they had not done well, not only in game 2, but that they had not done well for quite some time, but they were winning ball games, and things start to slip and slide when you don't get out there and work and talk about a lot of things. And outstanding job on the defensive boards, which created just enough running opportunities. And then again, once again, that preoccupation with Reggie Miller really helped the half-court offense of Indiana. But normally when you shut him down and stop him, that gives Indiana all kinds of problems. But it was Rik Smits who stepped up today and just dominated the big people of Atlanta inside.
Pacers 101 and the Hawks 79. Game 4 here tomorrow afternoon at Market Square. Tom Hammond, Bill Walton will bring it to you. And that'll be 1 o'clock Eastern time. Farrell with a minute and a half to go. Keefe on the follow. And they will jump it up. I don't know. I'd be playing in the schoolyard. We'd have to take another basketball and throw it up to get it down. These guys seem to have no problem at all in getting the ball. I can't understand it.
Or get a rock and try to hit it.
Well, you had no problem. Well, you were a gangly, what, 6?
And really a double leaper, too. Hey, Joe hitting the bottom of the backboard.
You're what, 6'11"?
Almost.
Here's Scott. And last touched by the Hawks.
It's going to be a search for Lenny Wilkins to find anything positive at all about this when they look at tape with their ball club. And just going to have to chalk it up, point out that they were in this position before in the Miami series. And we're going to have to come out tomorrow, block out the crowd, and turn that intensity intensity around and put it against the Indiana Pacers.
Well, Snoop Graham getting in the stat sheet. Snoop in his third year out of Ohio University, hitting on his first field goal. 101-81 to score. Here's Kenny Williams, rejected. And back comes Graham with 45 seconds to go. Farrell for an open three. And the Pacers hearing it from the crowd. Another standing ovation for the Indiana Pacers, who are on their way to take a 2-1 lead in this best of 7. Connor shooting. Down to 15 seconds. Here's Graham. That was a three-point attempt. And we're down to 8 seconds remaining. Well, coming up following the Pacers and the Hawks, it'll be Utah and Denver. Game 3 of that best of 7. Denver trying to get back into it, down 2-0. Here the story, Rik Smits with 27, Reggie Miller with 16, Byron Scott with 15. Indiana shot 51%, and they win it 101-81. To Matt Lucas and Ahmad Rashad, I'm Marv Albert. So long from Market Square. This has been the NBA